Hey,
Hello.
that was super easy, actually.
Tick. We're here.
Yes, we're here. Should we just start?
Let's go.
I'm so excited to know that.
I'm so
I need to
excited.
get this out of my system because I feel like if I don't get this out of my system, I'm going to talk nonsense. Because I feel like I've just got this such a massive rush of energy, and I'm so just like about the whole thing. But it's such a powerful rush of energy. Like I just feel amazing
It's
doing it. I feel like I don't know, a child that's been given something really amazing. I don't know, I just have this really, really powerful energy. So if I'm a bit hyperactive, that's why.
that's amazing. I love that. But I think it is amazing. This because actually we've got this incredible technology, we've got this incredible platform, and we get to connect. And meeting you this week was so amazing. I feel so blessed. So I'm with you. I feel like buzzing from just positive vibes and like meeting kindred spirits. It's such a joy, isn't it?
Do you think, I know we had like a kind of an idea of what we were going to do now, but I think following on from what you've just said, for me, part of the powerful thing of following my purpose and changing my career has been things like this. Like we've only just met. We met through the coaching container that we both joined because we both wanted to expand our business in the conscious businesses that we've started. And honestly, I feel like this is the most blessed thing ever. I really do. I feel like you were just such a balancer for me as well.
Me too. I know. I feel like the whole journey is actually very, very joyful, but it is when you make those connections, isn't it? And you
Yeah.
find someone that's like on a wavelength. We've got such similar stories, and it's like when we were talking to each other and telling our backgrounds and how we've got to where we've got. It's like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me.
I love that. Okay, let's talk about our stories because I think it's really powerful for people to understand how we know each other and how we met, but also how similar our stories are. Because part of the synchronicities of this, I think, happens when you are following your purpose and when you are doing something that is in alignment with your values, I suppose, is a simple way to put it. So, story wise, for me, for anyone that doesn't know, I don't know who that is. I'm going to come to the comments in a little bit, but I'm just going to tell our stories because I think it's really important that everyone knows kind of where we've come from. So, for probably 25 years, I was a photographer, loved it, had the most incredible life, was massively blessed throughout that with very powerful stories throughout it. And then through the time that passed, something changed for me, I guess. And I think we'll come to this many times when we're talking about this stuff, but I lost the love for it, is basically what happened. I no longer had to, as a creative, which obviously have also come from a creative past. We're both artists on this journey, which is just magical to me. I think I lost that flow state. I lost that connection with it, that excitement for it. Built really successful businesses, was a wedding photographer. Then COVID happened, obliterated everything. I'd also entwined my business with a relationship that I was in that was so toxic. And it's really important to bring this up because this, for me, was a huge part of my transition. This was a huge part of the toxic relationship I was in almost killed me without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I was suicidal for a good period of time. It killed my love of life, let alone my love of photography. And at that point where I kind of got out of that and became free of that and started to figure out, well, who am I without all of this? I also realized this was a huge time of transition for me. And I realized I could do one of two things. I could rebuild the businesses that had been killed off during COVID and start a new business without that toxic person, but that still had echoes of that for me. So for me, I had a very powerful why for changing my life. And I knew I didn't want to do that. It just didn't resonate. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. And after everything that happened, I wanted to feel good. I wanted a reason to be alive beyond my children and my family. You know, I needed something, as cliche as it sounds, that just gave me that purpose.
Yeah.
And I spent a good couple of years having no idea who I even was anymore, but knowing that I wanted to be of service to other people. That's really important to me. And I realized I'd been coaching for years without even realizing what coaching was. While I was in this really awful time of my life, I had some beautiful people, some of them are in this call, that coached me relentlessly and just saved me. And that had a big impact on the direction I chose to go. Decided that I wanted to be a coach. But even then, it wasn't easy. Like, it wasn't a case of, I want to be a coach. Great. So even then, I had so much internal resistance and so much procrastination, so much pause, that I was just spinning, chasing my tail for years, waiting for the perfect sign or the perfect gateway, which did actually happen. You know, I had a very synchronous conversation with somebody that led to finding a group that could teach me how to coach and I could get my accreditation. The second I committed to that, my life changed. I changed, and it felt like a metamorphosis into a whole new life. My life is not the same life as it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's not. And there's no part of me feels sad about that. I feel so blessed that I was able to have that incredible life as a photographer and the person I was then. And now I'm at the beginning stages of this whole new life. And now I'm coaching. It's been accredited for a while now, and it's everything I could have ever wanted it to be. I'm literally obsessed with it. I love it so much. I love my clients. I love watching them have their transformations. I love everything about the people that are coming into my life now, like this now. You know, none of that would have happened. So now I'm coaching. And as part of that path, I joined Full Time Purpose, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, I have talked about it quite a lot, but for anyone who doesn't know, that is the coaching program that Charlotte and I are both in. That's how we have met. I think I joined in February. I think you joined summer, right?
Right.
Yeah. Which is, that has been phenomenal, absolutely game changing and mind blowing. And I am grateful every day for that container of people and teachings. And that brings me to where I am now, pursuing building this new business, doing something that I'm so passionate about. I'm just so lit up by I just, if I think back to the state I was in 4 years ago, and I try and make that resonate with this person now who is just excited to be alive, who is just in love with everything. It's wild to me. It's absolutely crazy. And I think that's my biggest driving factor to doing lives like this, where we talk about that path where you have some kind of an awakening or something happens and you can totally change your life. Not only can you change your life, but you can go from a place that is the worst of the worst, where you've got nothing to live for emotionally. That's how you feel. You feel bereft. And then to have this life where you're just lit up. And it's, you know, I'm 44 years old and I'm living a life again that is just absolutely phenomenal to me. And I think it's really important to share these things and the reality of it as well. You know, it's not as simple as, oh, I want to change my life. But it can be if you have the focus and the tools. And I think when I was on this journey, I would have loved to have seen more of people who had come from a very real place of struggle and made their life something very beautiful, which is what I feel has happened to me, what I feel I've created. So that's what I want to share with people. I want people to understand that this is very real, that actual, very real human beings are very normal people are tapping in and creating a life that is in full alignment where they're just super excited. So that's me. I feel like I just get so excited when I talk about it because I'm just so in love with everything about this path, and I want to help as many people as possible realize that you don't have to live a shit life. You don't have to be sad. You don't have to dread going to work every day. I mean, to be fair, most of my friends are artists and musicians and creatives, and we're all kind of weird, right? Like, I feel like most of the people I know don't really fit into that box, but there are so many people shoving themselves into boxes every day, and it doesn't have to be like that. And that's what I have to say.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And there are so many touch points there that resonate with me very, very deeply. And I do agree, it's really nice to be able to share the just the hope that when you're in a really flat place or a dark place, just to know that it is possible to shift your vibration and step into some kind of different energetic stream that gives you a momentum that you didn't know was possible.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about being in love with life now, and that being such a contrast with where you were 5 years ago, I literally feel exactly the same, because my story was of coming up in art school. I did like 3 different degrees in art, and I worked in art and design higher education for a long time, got very entrenched in academia. And because my doctoral studies were about art and the internet, I started seeing a lot of examples of how much inequality there was in the tech sector, especially around gender. And I ended up co founding a kind of activist artist group called Feminist Internet, which, again, like you said with your previous career, it was incredible, such a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And an amazing experience, got to travel around the world, did lots of education, was making a difference because we were trying to take technology and the way it was produced and do it in a different way that cared much more about equality and stuff like that. So it was incredible. However, being in academia for a long time burned me out like absolutely anything. And I was just so off my purpose by the end of it. Like you said, you kind of lose your enthusiasm for it, you know you're in the wrong environment. And that was coupled with, I guess, a long term health condition that was really, really troublesome for me. And I couldn't solve it. I was told by the doctors that there wasn't any way out of it. It was just stuff that I would have to live with. And I was also going through a divorce. So all these different factors kind of coming together to put me in a pretty low space. And I also was like super ultra blessed because I somehow got on a call which was run by a woman that ran this amazing network of women, and they were called gifts calls, right? And you go on, and basically somebody out of the sort of 5 or 6 people that's on the call gets to come on and share like a problem or an issue that they're going through at the moment. And people give gifts, like a bit of advice, a word of kindness, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on one of these calls, and somebody asked me how I was, and I just totally broke down in tears because I was not okay. But there was a transformational coach on the call, and she offered me a free session. And that was the start of a couple of years working with her, and it totally changed my life, literally transformed everything. And so, like you, I then knew that I wanted to somehow give other people what she had given me. And I also knew that my quest would be spiritual in nature because I knew that I had to turn to something that was deeper and bigger than myself to get out of the mess that I was in. And so I really went deep into my meditation practice, into my yoga practice. And in COVID, it was just this new kind of silent space where I could change my vibration, change my life, change the energy, change the dynamics. And I'm really grateful for it, even though it's very difficult. And I then moved out of London and I found an incredible crystal healing teacher, and I trained as a crystal healer, which was honestly the most transformational thing that I've done in my life. I found that when I was doing these kind of treatments and working with energy and working with the mineral kingdom, I felt so in the flow, Emma. I felt like something way, way, way beyond me was being channeled through me. And I was having an impact on people in a way that was far more profound than anything I'd ever done in all of that time where I was striving and efforting and really, really doing my very best, but not being on my purpose. So now, when I understand that when you're aligned, when you're in the right energetic state, when you're in the right energetic flow, and when you get to connect with the conscious universe, it changes everything. And that's like you say, that's when the synchronicities start to happen.
Right.
You're in this magic flow.
Right.
You realize that there's like wonder and awe and special magic in the world that you weren't really connected to before. And that's why I'm so grateful. And that's what I want to share with people, that, you know, when you've lost that sense of like, oh my God, like things are magical, like there's so much wonder around, and to tune back into that, we actually all can do that.
Yeah. At any point as well. And this is the thing that's been such a wake up call for me, is that not only can you be in the depths of hell in your psyche, but also you can be having a bad day and decide to change the way you're perceiving things. And that's something I see a lot in my work with people. You're just challenging people's automatic thoughts. We all have them, right? We have that. We have an automatic monkey mind that wants to keep us safe, and it looks for a negative bias. So it looks for things to confirm why things are rubbish and hard work. And you have to actually consciously retrain that and consciously look for the positivity, look for the reasons to be inspired and connected. And we're not taught this.
Totally.
That's so strange to me. You know, I feel like I've always had access to that at some level. But now, as a coach, I can have someone in a session with me and I can teach them how to look for that stuff and teach them how to challenge their automatic thoughts. So why aren't we taught that? You know,
Yeah, it's so true.
society.
It's so true. And I didn't used to think that you had a choice. I used to really think that I was like inherently a glass half empty kind of a person, because I couldn't really explain, especially when I was young, but it lasted into my adult life as well. Couldn't really explain why I would just wake up and feel like this low, dull energy. I could not make sense of it because there's no reason for it.
Right.
So I used to think like my natural default setting is like negative. But when I realized and I learned over time that you actually do get to choose, you can check in with your energy and you can reframe things. And like you say, it can literally be an instant 2 words or 3 words,
Yeah.
and everything changes. And it's not that complicated, but you, like you say, you do have to do it all the time. It's a constant practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the more you do it, the more you cut a groove that you can then keep going back to, and you get more and more tools and you get more and more tips and methods, and then you go back to the things that really work for you, and it can be really quick.
I love the way you just said that. You do this, I said this, like the way, like I've never worded it like that. Cutting a groove is a great way to think about it. I always think about it like developing new muscles or new neural pathways. And that brings me to another thing I was thinking when you're talking. Like, it's very interesting. There is different language for this, and it all means the same thing. You know, you use the word energy quite a lot. I would talk about challenging your thoughts or changing neural pathways. Other people might talk about taking a minute to pray to God or to have a different kind of religious ceremony that helps them to check in and change their way of thinking, their energy. But it's all the same thing. It's just different clothing.
Yeah,
The same idea, right?
exactly.
Did you have one defining moment where you thought, I need to do something different?
I don't know if it was like one kind of lightning bolt pinpoint to the second, but I know it was a low point where I just knew, like, for example, when medical professionals tell you there's nothing that can cure this thing that's causing you great discomfort, right? You have to live with this now for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the tools at that time to stop myself spiraling into a lot of fear about it,
Mm-hmm.
because I would literally project myself to when I was 90 years old and still suffering from the same discomfort and pain.
Wow.
Because they said, like, there's nothing you can do about it, you just have to live with it. And so you know what I mean? I projected myself forward into the future, and I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing that. I will not accept it.
I don't accept it. Yes.
Don't accept it. But I knew that something within me very deeply knew, like, it had to be about creating space and calming. I don't know if I would have used this language at the time, but like regulating the nervous system and finding some connection to something bigger than myself, because there was no way with the like terrestrial approach that I could see that was going to change.
Right.
And so I really think that was a massive catalyst. For just knowing that it had to be different. And I'm so grateful for it, because if that hadn't have happened, would I have stopped? Would I have sat and meditated for as long as I possibly could? Would I have gone way deep into yoga? Would I have like learned how to sit with the fear and the pain?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And now those are things that I get to now transmute into healing for other people. So, you know what I mean?
So powerful. I think you did that.
Again, though, can I do it again?
That was a magical moment. Oh, there you go. That's beautiful.
So much love.
I resonate with that as well. We haven't even talked about this, but so I feel like I would give a similar answer to you. I don't think there was one defining moment for me. There was lots of them, really, like lots and lots of them. And my first one was probably, how old is River? 13, probably 12 years ago, when I broke my back in 2 places, had a head injury, was in hospital, and I had a similar thing. Like, this is so powerful when medical professionals tell you things. Like, words are powerful. The words we say to ourselves, to each other, they're powerful. And I was told, you might not walk again. And I was someone who is crazily active. I snowboard, I horse ride, I climb. I mean, I'm crazily active. Even now sitting here, I'm rocking, so I just have to be moving. And I laughed when they told me I might not walk again. I literally laughed. And instead of having that conversation with me, they offered me psychotherapy because they just didn't think I was taking it seriously, which I wasn't, because I didn't accept it. And that, for me, is how I felt. I do not accept this. This is not my future. It's just not a future where I don't walk. It's not it. No, different radio station, different frequency. That's not this reality for me. And that wasn't my reality. But I think, had I listened to that, I could very easily have accepted that and just been crushed and just been like, okay, that's it. I then had seizures for 9 years. I haven't had any for 2 years. I had seizures for 9 years. That was nuts. Some days I was having 20 seizures a day because my brain couldn't deal with the pace of life that I try and put it through, because I've always been that overachiever, that like, I could do everything. I can do 5 times of everything and it's effortless. And I don't understand why everyone can't do everything. It was so unhealthy. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for that accident,
Totally.
because without that, I wouldn't have learned. I mean, and I know anyone who knows me now will definitely laugh at this and feel like, well, I haven't slowed down or I'm not slow at all. But that's just not true compared to how I was 15 years ago. I was insane. I never stopped. And I just, without that accident in particular, and without them telling me I wouldn't walk again, I wouldn't have learned how to actually tune into my own self. Not just my body, but I wouldn't have learned how to go, hang on a minute, do I believe that? Or
Exactly.
does that feel right? And that's
Yeah.
powerful. That's for me when I started taking control.
Yeah.
I think, which is weird because that was a massive time of like losing control, my life changing. But
yeah. But don't you feel like it gives you a different perspective on the busyness? Because when you look back on it, well, when I look back on it, because God, I'm telling you, soul connection, right? Because I'm such an overachiever. We used to be, maybe I am, I don't know. But I made myself so insanely busy. And when I look back on it now, I realise that it was because I was trying to brace myself against reality. I didn't want to sit still. I couldn't sit still. Couldn't let things be. I had to fill every moment with physical activity, exercise, busyness, traveling, reading, just doing everything all the time. And so that's another thing to be grateful for when you are like debilitated in some kind of way, either by burnout or illness or an accident or something, and you although it's a bit of a baptism of fire, obviously, you have to contend with the bloody silence, don't you?
Yeah.
In a way that you probably wouldn't have done if you hadn't been
Yeah.
gently nudged by, or like not so gently nudged by the universe. But I really don't do that as much anymore, you know, and I'm very grateful for that as well, because it's hard to just be present, isn't it, in the moment sometimes? But I do feel like it's one of the most powerful things that you can do in this life until your last breath, is just learn to be still.
There's so much wisdom in everything that you've just said. That's so powerful as well. Like, not being that busy so you don't have to deal with reality. That's just, oof, I feel so called out right now. And like, I would love to say that that happened to me and I had this awakening, and now I'm like, I'm awesome, I'm good, I'm zen. That's a lie. Like, I cannot say that. It's an ongoing, and again, I don't want to have these chats and sit here and pretend that my life is perfect. And, you know, I've had all these amazing awakenings and all this stuff happened that has absolutely given me massive personal growth. But I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm healed and I'm zen. And, you know, I used to do all that stuff and I don't, because that's just not true. It's a daily practice.
It is a daily practice. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like setting out to create a conscious business, right, is like, it's like having this fresh out of the box mirror that's like going to show you all your shit.
Yeah.
But here's some, here's more. Oh, would you like to look in the really clean mirror now? Because there's some shadow. It's like every single dimension of creating the business, especially around content,
Yes.
but showing up as a different person,
Yes.
you know, selling your wares in a different way. Oh my God, it is very triggering on many, many levels. And so it is like a messy, ongoing, you know,
Yes.
sometimes you feel like you take one step forward, then you take two steps back. It's up and down, it's a mess, but you know what I mean? It's an amazing mess.
Yeah. You're right. This, so choosing a conscious business, and but what do we mean by that? I mean, choosing a business that we're consciously aligned with, I guess, is how I would define that in simple terms. A business that feels like it sits in resonance with where we're at personally and spiritually. I feel like it calls you out all the time.
All the time.
Like, if you were just going to work for a 9 to 5, I mean, I actually couldn't think of anything worse, but let's say you work, you know, you go to work, you deal with the shit you deal with, and then you come home and you forget about it. Like, running any business is not like that anyway, right? Let's be honest. It's hard work. It's really hard work. You have to really, really want that. And I've only worked for myself pretty much predominantly for my whole life, actually. So I have a lot of practice with that. But when you bring that into a conscious business, everything is a reflection of how you're feeling, what you're going through, your personal transformation. And I feel like we touched on this earlier. We were talking about, and I'm going to sort of bring this in here, but we were talking about what is your purpose? Like, where does that come from? What do you believe your purpose is, or what does that mean? And one of the things I do believe is that your purpose is deeply connected to your personal transformation. And that's what I feel now. I feel like my business is an absolute reflection of my own personal growth.
Yeah.
I don't think I even answered the question about what is purpose at that point. I really, yeah, I guess I just really do feel that it is that reflection. How do you define purpose? purpose.
I really love the way that you described it then, actually, because that sense of your purpose is connected to what you have faced and therefore what you now get to kind of transmute. That does make a lot of sense to me. I really like how you framed that. And I ponder this question all the time. What does it mean? Because you hear so often, don't you, like, find your purpose, what's the purpose of your business, what's your soul purpose, and all this.
Buzzwords.
Buzzwords. And like sometimes I think it's really, really helpful because it can help you kind of like dig deep and be like, yeah, but what actually really does resonate deeply with me? What's that kind of sweet spot between what I love and what people will pay me for and what I'm destined to do and all of that stuff. But then there's also sometimes I feel like it can get like really deep and like really heavy.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was a teacher called Jeffrey Allen, I think, who has his kind of main mentor as his wife, and she described purpose as like making happy memories.
Oh,
that was
I
it.
love that.
Well, my purpose is to make happy memories, and I loved the way that just like lifted the pressure off a little bit because you know, if it feels like you've got to pinpoint this like really, really hardcore energy that's right from like 10 lifetimes ago that you're bringing through, and it's like,
yeah,
like
pressure.
There's a lot of pressure. But so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's something about being aligned, doing what you love, doing what I don't necessarily always feel super comfortable with this like idea of service either, even though it feels like so important about being of service, and that drives me every single day. But not in a sense of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I think there's a way that you can really, really simply bring a lot of joy and positivity by your presence.
Oh, I love that.
Do you know what I mean? And then,
So, can I expand on that?
please.
Because one of the things that I am so invested in that I categorically know is the truth is that the only thing we can ever do is work on ourselves.
Yeah.
But in working on ourselves, we are doing the greatest thing for humanity that we could possibly do. And I think I had a lot of years, you know, I was a little activist when I was a young teenager and going through all of that. And I really, you know, I thought that to make a difference, I needed to go around the world and I need to, you know, have no shoes and help poor people and, you know, live in earthquakes. And, you know, you have these grandiose ideas of what being in service is. And one of the biggest realizations for me in my own personal journey is that that's nonsense for me, at least. Disclaimer, that's for me. And that for me, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest thing I could do is work on myself to grow, to like, you know, release previous traumas, things that I've gone through, and try not to pass it on to my children and be a better person and become a better parent and just constantly be striving to, right now, today, I am striving to be a better person. You know, if I can be a little bit better tomorrow than I am today, that is me doing my ministry for the world.
And do you feel like you attract clients who've been through similar things?
Yeah. Yes, crazy. Actually, it's really crazy. I tend to attract people who have some area where they don't really have, they're not confident in their self-love and their ability to draw from their own well of confidence, you know, to feel empowered. I think as women, we are women, so I will talk as a woman. To feel empowered, for me, it was really important to be able to get that from myself. And I think, again, being in that very abusive relationship and, you know, being taken to the depths of where that took me, left me with no option but to draw from myself. And that is what I find I attract in my clients, people that come to me when we start getting into it. So far, 100% of the time, there's something in there where they don't have access to the love that they do have for themselves. That's the most incredible thing for me, where I do feel like I'm being of service. And really, all I'm doing is sharing the journey I've been through, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? You know, just gathering together. I love this idea. I don't know where I heard this idea recently. The idea that, in fact, I think it was Prince EA, is it? I think he said something about Alice shared something, a video that he made in the group, and I watched it, and I'm pretty sure it was him. And he said something about stories are the most primal thing that we have as human beings as way of connection. Stories and talking, agree. And then this is the thing he said that I've just really taken on. We used to gather around the fire to share stories and share wisdom, and now we gather around our phones to do the same thing. And that's really powerful, because that's what we're doing here, right? We're sharing. We're not sitting here saying that we have the world sorted out, we are experts at life, you know, everything's easy, look to us, we're gurus. It's not that. It's, this is our journey, this is where we've been, and if any part of where we've been and how we've got there is helpful, that is the value we're offering.
Totally. It's so funny because right now the kind of tradition and thing that I'm studying the most with the most like joy is the shamanic tradition, sort of, so shamanic energy medicine. And there's a very strong emphasis on storytelling there as well. And it's not only like in terms of the way that, you know, like a lot of emotions get sort of trapped in the energy centers in our bodies, but also stories get trapped there as well.
Oh.
So when you're working in that tradition, you clear stories from the past that are holding you back, but also you become the author of your life. You actually get to flip out of a victim mentality, if there is one, and step into like, it's your narrative, it's a hero's journey. You get to tell it in a different way. When you tell it in a different way, life starts to organize itself around the new story. Right? It's just we
Literally my biggest drive. I just love everything about what you just said, because that's the biggest thing I want to have. Like when I'm making content, you know, I'm making YouTube videos and whatever. The biggest thing I want to share with people is that you can change the way you perceive your life, and you might have lived with a victim mentality. Don't judge it. You can change it. You can choose to change it at any point. I mean, it has to be a choice, but it's absolutely possible. Literally everything you've just said is probably my biggest driving factor for making any content at all.
Love that. And actually, one thing you said in there, which is so important, you just threw it away like it was nothing, but it was a nugget of gold, which was just don't judge it. Because you
Right.
make that step of like, okay, I'm seeing all the stuff coming up. Oh my God, like we're doing some shadow work. But if you don't do the step of let me not judge it, you spiral down into like a different
Right.
road of like, oh, now I feel really terrible that I've been doing this, blah, blah, blah. You know, so it's a really good point you made.
That was a massive step for me. So I've had several awakenings, several different things that have triggered awakenings. And one of the things for me was realizing that I go into, or have had history of going into kind of a negative mindset or a victim mentality. And it was, I probably had 10 years between understanding that, seeing that, and not beating myself up for it. In fact, it was probably the biggest tool I used to beat myself up once I realized it, because I was like, but I'm intelligent and I've had tons of therapy and I've done tons of work on myself, and here I am doing it again. And then that's no good, because one of the things I believe is that if you see your thoughts, your feelings, your stories, if you see the things that happen to you more like weather in your life, you know, transient weather changes, storms come and go, sunshine comes and go. That's just the way it is. You have that degree of separation from it that allows you to operate in a completely different way. And once you start allowing yourself to be that again by beating yourself up with it, it's almost like you're just making that real, and you're just going to drown yourself. You're going to be pulled away by the tide. But again, even if you're in that, it's realizing at any point you can just stand up. The water's not even that deep, you know. Mad. Okay, so for people that are looking to find their purpose or find, because it might not be changing their career, right? For people who are looking to make a change in their life where they feel like they're actually more in alignment with their values, what advice would you have?
I reckon I think my advice is kind of to do with what we talked about earlier about creating a bit of space around yourself to be able to hear what your intuition wants to tell you.
Nice.
Because if you are in that busy, burned out, racing against reality mode, yeah, are you going to be able to then get the downloads, get the insights, get the intuition? So if it's walking outside for 10 minutes, if it's meditating for 5 minutes, if it's journaling every night, something that creates a little bit of space for you to start, like telling that new story and
Right.
and like tuning into the impulses that you have. I think that does open a space. You know what I mean? To hear it. What do you think?
I think you're right. And we all do it in this society to some degree. That whole busy thing is, it's kind of like we're doing this, like, you know, it's like the toddler that doesn't want to hear that this has to stop, or you have to leave, and they literally will stick their fingers in their ears and go, no, 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 no. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're anesthetizing ourselves to our own intuition. Exactly. Right. And so I had a conversation with a client the other day where we were talking about intuition. She had the best question. And she was like, how do I know that what I'm feeling is intuition and not fear or negative self-talk? And I had to, it really challenged me to think about that. And the answer that came to me during that session and after that session when I was thinking about it is that because again, we're not taught to listen to our intuition. I mean, I'm lucky that one of the things I had growing up was I was constantly told that I could do anything I wanted to do. And that is, as a 44-year-old woman, that is still with me now. I still think about that every single day. I know I can do anything I want because I was told that all of the time. I had some problems in my childhood, but I had some things that were very, very valuable, very beautiful, and that was one of them. But in general, we're not taught that. We're taught you go to school, you do the 9 to 5, you get the family, you follow the pattern, you don't think. So I think the first thing is to, like you said, create that space, but also to understand what is your intuition, who are you? That's what this journey is. And it's not an easy journey finding your purpose, because actually it will take you to the depths of your thought processes, your feelings, your past experiences. It's a challenge. I feel like it's warrior work, actually. And I think with all these buzzwords that we hear about, finding your purpose and living your life's purpose, they're great. And I really resonate with them. Obviously, they're fantastic. However, if you're not ready to do that warrior work, I feel like that stuff will just bounce off. Bashar said something that really resonated with me that I listened to you say. So Bashar said something like, and I'm going to misquote like I did with the story the other day, but that's fine. Bashar said something along the lines of, if in your life you feel like the wind has been taken out of your sails, it's just because the wind has changed direction. And what he was talking about was this. It was finding what it is that you want to do. You know, Bashar talks a lot about following your excitement, your greatest happiness at all times. And if your passion for something is gone, that is a time to look for, where is the wind going to take me? And I feel like there is a big element of faith. If you're a religious person, that's going to be a faith in, you know, in a God or whatever doctrine that you follow. For me, that's faith in myself, my higher self.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. That's scary, because what you have to be prepared to be a complete twig in the wind.
Yeah.
And you have to really go all in and go, okay, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know I don't know the direction. I don't know how I'm going to get to, I don't even know where I want to go, is actually where it starts. I feel like.
Really. You know what you're reminding me of as well is, do you remember that exercise that we did on the course about, I think it might have been on the Conscious Business Accelerator bit, where we had to think of like 5 peak experiences from our life.
Oh, I missed that. So you have to tell me.
Yeah, so basically it was like, think of 4 or 5 moments in your life that were peak experiences where you felt like in the most joy, the most elevated, the most alive.
Okay, love it.
You conjure them up in your mind and you write some stuff about them, and they actually give you a lot of cues about your purpose, or at least about the feelings that you want to have. So, like for me, some of them were like, as a dancer when I was a kid, and peak moments of just like stepping out onto that stage and feeling so at one with like the movement and the music and having an audience and performing, that I kind of shut down a little bit in my adult life. But actually being asked to go back and think about it, it did show me, no, you do want to embody a kind of grace and movement and flow. And you might, that's not like, okay, I want to have a business doing X, Y, Z, but it's still you a lot of signal about where you want to be and what you want to inhabit and occupy in whatever it is you're doing. And sometimes those things, those feelings, are like more important than the thing, because you could do that as a yoga teacher or a, I don't know, what, you know, a chef or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? So I
think sell shoes in a spiritual way, right?
Yeah.
In an aligned way, if that's your thing. But what you just said really weirdly reminded me of something else that I wanted to say, which is, so when we're talking about how do I trust my intuition, how do I know what it is that I'm supposed to be listening to? If you think about the times in your life you've been the happiest, this is a different exercise that I did, who knows where, I don't know. So you think about the times in your life you've been the happiest. What were your thoughts at that point? And the chances are really strong that at those points where you are the most in the flow, happiest, they are times where you had no thoughts, because it's not about thought. Why do you keep doing that? How do you keep doing that with the?
I'm not even doing it.
It must be something you doing. That's so cool. Is someone else doing it? If you are, can you do it? Because
I think someone's doing it. Is someone doing that thumbs up?
someone do a thumbs up or something.
We really appreciate it.
It's so cool. It's just coming out of you like a little thought bubble with it. That's great.
Amazing.
Who's here? Oh, hi, Tina. Sorry.
It's an automatic thing on Mac, right? Well, it's still very nice.
It's lovely. But no one had a thumbs up, or you didn't have your thumbs up. Maybe you were thinking thumbs up. I don't know. I want to do the thing you did. Oh, can we end every section like that? That's just so beautiful.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh.
Oh.
I feel like we have said so much in this, but again, I feel like it's so valuable.
I really appreciate you. I loved this conversation. I really appreciate everybody that's joined us, and yeah, I hope it's been something good.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it would be really, that's my mum. My mum. I guess it would be good to talk about on a practical basis, you know, how people can get in touch with us if they want to going forward. So for me, I work with coaching. I am happy. Thanks, you've been beautiful. Thank you, Tina.
That's amazing. Sending so much love.
Love it so much. So yeah, I coach people, and if people want to reach out to me just out of curiosity for anything we've said, more than like, I just want to make it clear this isn't a business thing for me personally. This isn't a business thing, but I'm really happy to connect with anyone who has been live or watches it on a replay at any point. I love these kinds of interactions. I genuinely just love connecting with people. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm going to put this up on YouTube. I think you are too, right?
Yes.
So DM me on Instagram here or message underneath the video in YouTube. And I'm always happy to just have conversations. If you have things that you're worried about or curious about, or I don't know, there's something that I've said that you feel like it helped you and I can expand on it, then message me. Let's have the conversation.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, and I will say the same. I mean, I'm a crystal healer. I work with energy. So if you want to, you know, tackle some of these things on that level, in that kind of modality, then DM me as well. And I offer a free discovery call so we can talk about whether crystal healing is right for you and what you want to work on, what you want to clear, and we can take it from there.
So I'm going to say this right before. I've been calm as anything. We haven't planned this live, by the way, for anyone that's watching in any way, shape, or form, which has been fantastic. And I definitely would do it that way again. I'm not worried about it all day, but 10 minutes before we were supposed to go online, I was doing some practices and there was no sound. It was freaking me out. It was a real problem. So when we came onto a video call, Charlotte took me through a really quick grounding meditation that totally worked, and she's totally beautiful. So if you want work like that, definitely reach out, because what I want to get across in saying this is that we're in completely different parts of the country. We've never met each other. We started talking yesterday. And even just that 2-minute meditation that you led me in took me from totally scattered to, yeah, cool, great, I'm ready.
Amazing.
So I super appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's been a blast having this conversation.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Emma. Lots of love. Bye, everyone.
Bye. 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 Bye.